I used to make a joke at the end of some of my videos where I'd say something stupid like, "Oh, see you next year." Obviously poking fun at the fact that I take a really long time to make videos, but it actually has been over a year since my best of 2019 video. But anyway, I'm back, and I just have the urge to make something big. So I'm gonna be doing this, my top 30 favorite movies of the 2010s. I did mention in my best of 2019 video that I wanted to make a list like this, but I've never really had the motivation to do so. But now I do. The main reason why I was having trouble making this movie is because I made this list on Letterboxd, which you should go follow me on, by the way, link in the description. It's like a year ago, and it kept changing. Movies have changed places and stuff like that, and I just wanted to be sure that if I put this list out there, I want to be happy with it, with all the places on the list and what movies are on the list. I've rewatched 98% of the movies on this list to make sure that my stances on them in the list are rock solid, and I'm pretty happy with it now. But anyway, so this is, if I do this in one part, it's gonna be a pretty long video, so I'm gonna split this up into two parts. We're gonna go over half of the movies in this video, and then in the next video I'll do the other half. Before we get on with the list, I should probably mention something. My list is not going to be your list, so if a movie that you like is not on the list, or if a movie you don't like is on the list, or if I just like a movie better than another movie, or like a movie less than another movie, just listen. This is my list. These are movies that mean something to me. This is my list, my opinions. If a movie you think should have been on the list isn't on it, make your own list. Anyway, let's do it. Top 30, my top 30 favorite movies of the last shit. Lady Bird is the directorial debut of Greta Gerwig, who, before this movie and Little Women, I knew her mainly for her performance in Noah Baumbach's Frances Ha, which she was great in. But holy crap, I never would have known from that movie how incredible she is as a writer, because the script for Lady Bird feels so unbelievably real. You're probably going to be hearing me say real a lot, but that's just how it feels, man. Like, the film chronicles Lady Bird, a 17-year-old girl, as we go through her early adult life, chronicling her love life, her friendships, and her relationship with her mother, and her desire to leave her hometown so that she can be someplace where she can truly be herself. And it feels so unbelievably genuine. And my personal favorite thing about this movie is the relationship between Lady Bird and her mother, who are played excellently by Saoirse Ronan and Laurie Metcalf. They are the heart of this movie, in my opinion. Their relationship feels so genuine. On one hand, they're very loving and they're very nice to each other, but on the other hand, they have arguments, and at times the relationship becomes so real feeling it becomes kind of uncomfortable to watch at times, and I can't really explain why, but I recommend checking this movie out, especially if you're around my age and you're about to graduate high school or you have graduated high school, because this movie becomes more and more personal to me as time goes on, so please see it. And also check out Greta Gerwig's follow-up film, my personal favorite adaptation of Little Women. I'm going to go over this movie really quickly because I originally made a much more in-depth review in this video on this movie and tried to upload it to YouTube, but Toho blocked it based on copyright grounds, so I'm just going to give some really quick thoughts on the movie. Your Name, directed by Makoto Shinkai, is a well-directed, stunningly beautiful looking movie with a beautiful love story, a nice mystery, and great characters. It's one of my favorite animated movies of the last decade. Highly recommend it. Fuck off, Toho. The Babadook is not a monster movie per se. It's much more than that. It's a movie about the deterioration of the mental state of a broken woman and how that affects her relationship with her son. Yes, there is a monster there, and the monster is awesome. The Babadook is one of the best designed monsters I've seen in recent years. But there's also more under the surface, much akin to Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Yes, it has its supernatural bumps in the night and stuff, but there's real human drama there that elevates this movie even higher. Fantastic leading performances and incredible set design. A lot of the sets in this movie remind me, especially since it's constantly shown on the TV in the character's house, remind me of German Expressionism of the 1920s, especially with the Babadook himself looking a lot like Dr. Caligari. I really recommend checking this movie out, and as well as Jennifer Kent's follow-up film, which, trigger warning, there is a lot of fucked up imagery in this movie, but if you can check it out, check out her follow-up film, The Nightingale. It's one of the most haunting movies I've ever seen in my life. La Casa Lobo is an absolute fucking nightmare in the best way possible. This movie is a visual marvel, and it disappoints me that we don't have more animated horror movies like it. But as I said in my Your Name review, looks are one thing. It's also backed up by a very vague but powerful story about manipulation, fascism, and abuse. If you can check this film out, please do. I don't see a lot of people talking about this. As a matter of fact, this is a late contender to the list because I discovered it through Super Eye Patch Wolf's video on disturbing horror, which is an excellent video that you should check out. But anyway, I love this movie. Please check it out. And if you can, recommend me some more awesome horror movies from Chile because this really blew me away. Sergio Leone's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is my second favorite movie of all time. And Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained, it's one of the best westerns I've seen in a while. Absolutely fantastic direction, cinematography, as well as some great performances by Jamie Foxx and Christoph Waltz. Though in my opinion, Leonardo DiCaprio really steals the show with his absolutely insane performance. It's amazing how dedicated he is to acting even after he slices his hand in that specific dinner scene. The movie is also written very well. Sometimes, I'll be unfazed by graphic violence in Tarantino's movies, but I'll always be the most entertained by just scenes of his characters talking to each other, because that's my favorite part of his movies. So, if you can, keep in mind, this film does deal with slavery and racism, so be warned. But if you're into these kind of over-the-top, crazy spaghetti westerns, please check Django Unchained out. It's one of the best I've seen in a while, aside from one specific western, which, if it was a movie, it probably would be on my list of best westerns. As much as I love Ridley Scott's original Blade Runner, the final cut that is, for how incredible it looks, thematically it's not as deep as one would want it to be. Character-wise, it's not that incredible, and story-wise, it's pretty limp. But Denis Villeneuve's sequel, Blade Runner 2049, is better than the original movie in pretty much every single way possible. The characters are so much more interesting in this film. Rick Deckard is improved greatly in this movie. The score is absolutely incredible, and the movie looks fucking gorgeous. Look at this movie. This looks absolutely unreal. The original movie already looked incredible, but look at this. It's also backed up by even much more thematically deep and powerful themes about what it means to be human. This movie didn't do well at the box office, which doesn't really surprise me because this movie's trying to appeal to a very certain demographic, that being Blade Runner fans, and that movie in itself is a cult classic. Also, I forgot to mention, the performances in this movie are all fantastic, like Ana de Armas, Ryan Gosling, and Harrison Ford, who is especially really good in this movie. Please check this movie out. If you're a fan of the original Blade Runner, I would recommend, if you want to check this movie out, watch the original Blade Runner first so you can have a good sense of mind on what this movie is about. Please check this movie out. I love Guillermo del Toro. He's one of my favorite directors of all time. His films Pan's Labyrinth and The Devil's Backbone are two of my favorite movies of all time. And he has really shown how versatile he is as a director. He directed a Gundam / kaiju movie. He made a gothic romance / tragedy, which is criminally underrated. And then there's my favorite of his most recent work, the Best Picture winner, The Shape of Water. This movie is absolutely breathtaking, with its incredible visuals, amazing makeup design, and incredible score. Oh my gosh, the score is so beautiful in this movie. The score also won an Oscar, by the way. And it's also backed up by incredible performances. Sally Hawkins is fantastic in this movie, as well as Doug Jones, who plays as the fishman, or the asset, in this movie. And the movie just has such a beautiful romance between Doug Jones's fishman and Sally Hawkins, which, sounds bizarre. Like, how are you gonna buy into this romance between this woman and this fish dude? But it works. Del Toro finds a way to make it work, and it's absolutely beautiful. And there's also themes about discrimination that's also, in my opinion, handled really well. Every character in this movie, main character that is, has something about them that makes them look down in society, and it makes you root for them. This is an absolutely fantastically gorgeous, beautiful movie that I recommend. Please check it out. I love you, Guillermo. Originally, I thought The Wolf of Wall Street would have been my favorite Martin Scorsese movie of the decade, but after rewatching it a few times, The Irishman is my favorite Scorsese movie of the decade. It's well written, it's well directed, it has very personal themes about death and looking back on your mistakes that feel all the more real and personal the more you think about Martin Scorsese's career and how old he is now. And it's really powerful. That last shot in the movie is going to stick with me for a long time. The movie has a really good score, good soundtrack, some good set design, and some fantastic performances by Bob De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Al Pacino. This is one of Scorsese's very best, and if this really is the true cinema that he keeps talking about, okay, give me more of this, please. This does not feel like the film debut of Robert Eggers. This doesn't feel like somebody's first film at all. This feels like a movie that was made with somebody who's been making movies for decades. Somebody with Stanley Kubrick or Martin Scorsese's level of experience. It's that well directed. The shots in this movie are absolutely fantastic. The dialogue is fantastic. The performances are great. All of it is period accurate because they're speaking in these accents that are very of the period and speaking in this dialogue that's very accurate to the period. A lot of thys, thine, these, and that stuff like that. And what comes out of it is one of the most disturbing horror movies that I've seen in a while. Yes, there's a witch, but there's also family drama there that's genuinely unsettling and kind of heartbreaking. I can't praise this movie enough, and this isn't going to be the last time that we see Robert Eggers on this list, so be ready. I avoided Spike Jonze's Her for a really long time because I thought the premise was kind of comical and kind of stupid. I didn't understand how I would be able to buy into the story of a man who's in love with his computer. But after I saw how overwhelmingly beloved this movie was, I decided to check it out. And now I kind of wish I hadn't, because this movie emotionally destroyed me in ways that I can't explain. This is a well-directed, absolutely mesmerizing, beautiful movie about a man who's in love with his computer, but it works, and it's so essential to this movie's themes of human connection and love, and you buy into this romance. Despite how weird and unorthodox it is, it really works, and it's really believable, and it's genuinely tear-jerking at times. And the movie has really great performances by Amy Adams, Scarlett Johansson, and what is possibly my personal favorite performance by Joaquin Phoenix. They're all fantastic in this movie. I don't know what else I can say about this movie. This movie really destroyed me emotionally, and I can't recommend it enough. If anybody tried to do this, if this movie's premise was done even a little bit wrong, it would have been comical. But Spike Jonze managed to find a way to make this movie not comical, but incredibly powerful and heartfelt. I'm sure if I bring up the term horror remake, many of you are going to look away in disgust. But truth be told, some horror remakes can be fantastic. One of the best horror movies of all time is essentially a remake. John Carpenter's The Thing, and as well as David Cronenberg's The Fly. But I think the movie that also should belong on that very small list is Suspiria 2018. As a matter of fact, I love it more than the original. And I already love the original Suspiria by Dario Argento. It's one of my favorite films in Italian cinema. But everything that the 2018 film does, it does better. The movie looks incredible. The score by Radiohead frontman Thom Yorke is fantastic. And the lead performances by Dakota Johnson is fantastic, as well as Tilda Swinton, who plays 3 characters in this movie. One of those characters being an elderly man. She's that good. This movie is absolutely fantastic and incredibly disturbing, so if you want to check this out, please do, and I'd recommend checking out the original film by Dario Argento, as I feel it's also fantastic. I'm really glad Cartoon Saloon has been getting a lot of attention lately. Secret of Kells, The Breadwinner, Wolfwalkers. This is a fantastic studio, but my personal favorite of their work is Tom Moore's Song of the Sea, with an absolutely beautiful soundtrack, incredibly stunning animation, as well as great characters, and a very powerful story about handling your emotions and connecting with your family. It's so great. It's got a great mix of fantasy with real life, very reminiscent of Guillermo del Toro's style. It's a really stunning movie. It's really touching. I can't praise this movie enough. This is one of the best animated movies of the decade, and my personal favorite movie from Ireland, so please check out Song of the Sea. It will take your breath away. Studio Ghibli's When Marnie Was There has kind of become a very personal film to me. It's a movie about a girl named Anna who has to go out and live with her relatives for a while so that she can get better health-wise. And she runs into this girl named Marnie, and what develops over the course of the film is a very touching relationship that is all about getting in touch with your emotions, allowing yourself to be put out there, as well as learning about your family history. And it makes me cry like a little baby every time I watch it. It also has one of the most underappreciated scores in Ghibli history. Some people are kind of divided on the final twist of the movie. To me, I like it. I think it works. Seriously though, this is one of my favorite Ghibli movies. Please check this movie out if you can. It really hit me hard the first time I watched it, and it still does. I've talked about Parasite a fair amount in my favorite movies of 2019 video, so I'll go over it briefly. But what I can say is Bong Joon-ho's Parasite is a well-directed, well-written, funny, powerful, and disturbing movie about class and rich versus the poor. It is never boring, it is never predictable, and it will throw you off in so many ways and shock you so hard. Now, please, if you're going to see this movie, do not look up anything about it. Go into this movie cold, and you will not regret it. This is one of the best movies of the last decade, and my favorite foreign language movie of the last decade as well. Please check it out, and check out Bong Joon-ho's other movies. Dan Gilroy's Nightcrawler is one of the most unsettling and thrilling movies that I've seen in a long time. The film is about Lou Bloom, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, who's basically making his money going out at night and filming the aftermath of traffic accidents as well as crime. It's really gross, it's really fucked, and it's really good at showing how the news uses it, framing it in a way that's very sad and disturbing. And the way that the film makes Lou Bloom think that he's an underdog and he's just needs to be the best at this really gross and fucked up job is really fantastic and really disturbing, made all the more unsettling by Jake Gyllenhaal's really unhinged and unsettling performance. This is probably my favorite performance by him in general. This is such a fantastic character study with a really great score. The score throws a lot of people off because the score sounds, as he's taking things way too far to do his job, the score sounds triumphant and happy, and people are like, nah, I don't like that. I think it should have been darker. I disagree. I think the music works because this is the type of music that Lou is hearing in his head. He thinks that this is a triumphant, rocky, underdog-style moment, and that's what the music is representing. Nightcrawler is fantastic. Please check it out.